Welcome to Wodonga Senior Secondary College's Arts Big Night In for 2022. I'm Darcy.
And I'm Montana, and we will be your hosts for this evening. Tonight, we will be bringing the works of our talented performing and visual arts students to your screens in this showcase.
Up first, we have a performance from the combined Wodonga Middle Years College and Wodonga Senior Secondary vocal group of Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush.
This will be followed by Year 12 dance student Nieva Willis performing a jazz routine to Fashion by FC.
Thank you to our vocal group and to Nieva for those great performances.
Up next, we have a performance from Charlie Roach, performing New Philosophy from You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, followed by Savannah, Kylarnee and Ebony performing Nothing Changes from Hadestown.
We will then hear from our students about creative and digital media.
Oh yeah, that's what you think. What? That's my new philosophy. Oh yeah, that's what you think. Well, why are you telling me? What? Why are you telling me? Why are you telling me? I like it. Why are you telling me? Why are you telling me? Why are you telling me? My new philosophy. That teacher gave a D on last week's homework. She said, Miss Sally Brown, your grades are going down. I could have told her my new philosophy. Miss B, I'm she. Look, C, a D, a D. Oh, why are you telling me? And that's my new philosophy. Just like a busy bee, each new philosophy can fly from tree to tree and keep me moving. When life's a dizzy maze on alternating days, I choose a different phrase, my new philosophy. Some philosophies are simple, man does not live by bread alone. Some philosophies are clear, leave your message at the sound of the tone. Some philosophies pick and choose, deciding what goes in it. Some take a lifetime, mine take a minute. But sadly, anything that takes only a minute can be very lasting. For instance, Beethoven took over 2 years to complete his brilliant Ninth Symphony. No, I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I like it. It's like a guarantee. I knew philosophy, and things are sure to be a whole lot brighter. Oh yeah, that's what you think. Why are you telling me? No, I can't stand it. Now life is free and easy. Much more philosophy easy with my brand new. You know, someone has said that we should live each day as if it was the last day of our lives. Ah! This is it! This is the last day! I've only got 24 hours left! Help me, help me! This is the last day! Ah! Clearly, some philosophies aren't for all people. And that's my new philosophy.
Why the struggle, why the strain? Why make trouble, why make scenes? Why go against the grain? Why swim upstream? It ain't no use. You're bound to lose. What's done is done. That's the way the river runs. So why get wet? Why break a sweat? Why waste your precious breath? Why beat your handsome brow? Nothing changes. Nothing changes. Nothing changes.
So right now I'm doing creative digital media. So in the subject we look at different types of media, like creative media, like website, animation. We do some 3D, like diorama design as well, some character design.
We look at various different things that we may do in a creative industry. Throughout that first couple of years, we looked at website development, 3D scene design and creation. We did some character design and some animations and that. Within our class, we use a lot of various digital tools, ranging from different Adobe products being animation and Illustrator and that, to other industry standards along the lines of Maya for 3D design and that. We often also use After Effects and Animate in Dreamweaver and that.
So I've always been interested in animation before, like way before. And so like, I think like the subject teach me like the basic skill of like, you know, character design is important. And then, you know, it teach me like 3D and understanding of 3D space and like designing in 3D space as well. And also we actually get to do like 2D animation as well. I do planning to keep going into like the animation direction in the future. So yes, this course has helped me a lot in like developing a basic understanding of what it takes to do animation and like what the skills are and what the software is and stuff like that.
I feel it's important that I learn these tools because I also enjoy doubling as a digital artworks like creator. I do use a lot of my pencils and Poscas in my other classes, but I find that looking at it through the more digital, more design-based products is helping me to broaden my horizons of how I approach a lot of this stuff. The way that I designed a character within this course is completely different to how I would have prior, which makes me feel a lot more confident when tackling a lot of this, my later character designs and that.
What I find the most difficult is it's definitely like coming up with ideas and like the initial like generating idea part. I don't find using the tools as difficult because like there's also many tutorials everywhere, but then getting the basic skill down is the harder part, I think.
A lot of the softwares I found, when you first try and get into them, they are incredibly intimidating with the amount of tools and everything that you can use. But having come from an area where we have previously used a lot of those like art softwares, like Medibang, Fire Alpaca, all of those kinds of things, I find that some of them are still in a similar layout, but being in this class has definitely helped me to broaden my horizons and gain the confidence to use a lot of these other things that I may not have previously used.
Definitely if you have an interest in like art and designing, or like, you know, you like animation, you like, you know, designing website, of course, but, you know, just try it out and see how you go, I think. So definitely, yes, recommend.
Thank you to Charlie, Savannah, Kylarnee and Ebony for those wonderful performances.
Next, we will see another performance from Nieva Willis, who will be performing a contemporary piece to Sand by Nathan Lehner.
But first, let's hear from some Year 12 students about their final studio art pieces that will be on display at next week's Arts and Design Show.
I'm doing Year 12 studio art, and for this subject I've had to, over the course of 6 months, complete a series of work based on one central idea. The concept I chose to pursue was one I actually came up in Year 11, and so from that stage I was able to develop it from that time and then refine it as I went. So it's a lot of hours of work leading up to what I've done in my Year 12 portfolio. Over experimenting, I've worked out that I can use tape to create layers in a painting. So through sort of the abstract style I've adopted, I was able to do one layer, put tape down, and then do another layer. So then I could take it all off and it's this layered dynamic painting that links together. So I've created one and then tried to link it from that. So it's more not really subject matter based, more looking at the technique and seeing it from a distance and seeing the flow between them. It took a lot of time to especially refine the process, get it to where I've gotten to now, but overall it was great. It was fun to do. With mine work personally, I've had to learn to really take risks with it because I feel like that gets the best outcome. So I think that sort of reflects on life pretty well. I picked it because it's something I love. It's one of my passions. I'm going to be painting for the rest of my life. But I think it's very calming in Year 12. It's a subject that you can just be like, oh, okay, I'm doing this. You know what you're doing, and it's just time to relax.
I picked up because it's a media that I enjoy doing, because it's really fun when I'm at home doing art pieces, trying to draw people and everything. As you can see there, I wanted to do charcoal realism of two different pieces that contradict with each other. Like one's happy, one's more sad, and they have two different emotions but become one when you look at them together. So I tried a different emotions and angles with my artworks, but I really like the ones where the more of a side angle and it showed really contradicting emotions. So I asked my friend to give me a side angle of their faces and do two different emotions, and I took pictures of that and chose ones that I like to do and went more into those focus areas. I experimented with charcoal last year, and I went and mainly did more of eyes, nose and mouth area, and I really liked how that went, so I focused more on the facial expressions. I wanted to show more about people's facial expressions than the rest of the body, so I just went and focused more on that and expanded on that area. So it was way more easier to do bigger scales because you can show more little details into charcoal because it's how much of a hard medium it is. Bigger, thicker paper is way better than small, thin paper when it comes to charcoal because it doesn't rip off or anything, and it's really easy. And have smooth paper more so than watercolor paper because it's way more easier to see the little smooth edges of the charcoal compared to bits and pieces of it.
For studio art, I did make a series of two paintings with acrylic paint, just expressing my emotions with my theme of parallel universes. And I express this in the use of my line work, abstract shapes, and just of a short series of a comic strip. I used acrylic paint, paint markers, gloss and metallic gold paint. I used mixed media and I used line work, dotting, Ben-Day effect that I've learned in studio art. I've used a lot of colours, so just to pop out the artwork with the gold paint as well really worked, so yeah, I'm happy with that. So with my artwork I use Posca paint pens to create the faces. So it's the girl in this artwork, she's a bit oblivious with the frame, which is also to add my concept of parallel universes. So that's with the frame, which is also a different universe, but it's the same story. And it's obviously the same girl and she's a bit oblivious with the same surroundings. I've always had a passion of, making art, and I always just loved creating art when I was younger, and I loved to paint, so this was a great subject for me to, express my emotions.
This year, our talented performing arts students put on a great production of The Snow by Australian playwright Finnegan Crookmeyer.
Let's take a look now at all the effort that goes into creating such a wonderful production.
When an epic snowfall imprisons the residents of a tiny village of Kishka, young Theodore Sutton proposes the villagers build a catapult to fling him and the 6 of the village's bravest and strongest out in search of a solution.
The catapult hastily assembled, Theodore and the heroes are launched over the snow and into the grandest of adventures.
Whimsical and humorous, dark and mysterious, heartfelt and sincere, this play weaves a fantastical Grimshian tale for the entire family.
Hello, my name is Parsa, and I play Narrator 3 in WSSC's production of The Snow.
It was as wide as a lake, too deep for Kishka's 200 people to dig through.
So, Narrator 3, along with the other 2 members of our trio, Narrator 1 and 2, we narrate the story, exposition, basically stuff like that, and sometimes we talk with the actual main characters.
So my name's Ebony and I play Wren of the Ravenhearts in this year's production of The Snow.
I think we're all ready to go. We are Wren and Wren of the Ravenhearts.
So Wren is a twin, her sister being Rin, and she volunteers to help Theodore find a solution to the snow. And unfortunately, on a certain catapult ride, she dies. She does not survive.
Hi, I'm Montana. I play Narrator 2 in this year's production of The Snow.
And beyond the house was the darkness, and it did not look inviting, and it did not look uninviting. It looked indescribable. But
No, hang on a minute. We just described it.
a bit ago.
Exactly.
And how exactly does one deal with a thing they can't describe? Yeah, just ignore us.
Real nice.
Oh,
No,
bloody hell, why do we have to bring him? He's such a little tosser. What? Kind of stuck mid.
Well, my character is one of a group of 3 of narrators who help tell the story of The Snow, so of Theodore.
Hi, I'm Kylarnee, and I play Connor the Calm and Guard 2 in this year's production of The Snow.
So, if you can tame the grasses and the seas.
Easily.
How about snow? I mean, that's kind of our issue.
What? Did I mention snow?
Okay, I just...
If I could do snow, I would have said snow! Are you serious?
Okay, well, thank you, Connor, and...
The Calm! My full title is Connor the Calm! Connor the Calm is very shouty for someone who's supposed to be calm. I think at the start, Connor the Calm really just wants to show off, so he comes up to Theodore and the other heroic brave people and just gets full of himself and tries to make everyone think he's really cool, but he's really not. He's kind of rude.
Hi, I'm Savannah and I played Margareta Kishka in this year's production of The Snow.
Punch, and a cold became a snow. Just a flake or 2 at first, but enough to make me worry. So I said to the people, let us sow food and grow food and store lots below food. But they ignored me, as I was small.
So basically, in the backstory of the play itself, I was a young female living in a village, and I was sort of the only one who could foresee the consequences of everything that was happening, and I planted enough crops and everything to provide for my village, but they sort of didn't really listen to me. And then once obviously they realised that I was right from the start, they asked for my forgiveness and I unfortunately said no, so they all left, and that's sort of how the story itself started. And my sadness is sort of the reason for the darkness and the snow and everything that sort of happened. And eventually they come and they find me, and I sort of tell them my story and they put together the pieces and eventually get to fix it.
So I'm Faye, and I was the student director and the stage manager for The Snow. For the first part, I would sit in the audience and I'd yell at the kids. Not really. But I'd tell them what they need to fix, and I'd tell them like what looks good, what doesn't look good. And then I got to experience what a stage manager does. So I get to tell the kids when to go on and when, and if something goes wrong, Miss Gower will talk to me over the comms, and then I'll have to fix that situation. So it was a lot of work doing that.
So the problem that the people of Kishka faced was that lack of food due to the snow covering their crops. And, Theodore and Oliver, originally their intent was to find a solution to the snow. Finding out later that it was the darkness that was causing the snow due to the fighting that was going on between the two villages, and eventually they managed to solve this problem, solving the snow, by bringing the two villages together and ending the war, basically.
So the two villages in the play came from two brothers, two love interests that Margareta had, and they both left her when she denied them food after they sort of mistreated her. And they were two brothers who argued about her because they both loved her, and it doesn't give much context around if she loved them back, but I like to think that she did, but she was just hurt by what happened. And then they both went off when they left, and they started their own two villages, both named after her, and that's sort of where the villages feuding came from, even though as generations moved on, none of them really knew why they didn't get along.
One of the things I enjoyed most was probably the amount of creative liberty we had, because I know with Puffs we had a lot to refer back to, which was good because it was like a good basis, but this time around it was a lot of you got to really work on your characters and figure out what you wanted to do. So like my character, for example, went through like a lot of changes before I finally figured out who I wanted her to be. So yeah, that's probably one of my favourite things about the show.
I have to say my favourite scene was definitely the birds scene, both of the bird scenes. They're just so funny, and it's just a great way to lightheartedly introduce some comedy before it gets to my sort of more heavy and more condensed scenes. My favourite scene probably has to be the yeast scene. It's such a fun scene to do, and just seeing the audience faces, getting to interact with the story and not having to sit there and just watch it, being able to feel it as well and being a part of the story. I just love it.
It was really interesting to watch the characters, just the entire show, how they made their characters, not specifically a scene, but they brought life to their characters and they brought life to the show, and they just did such an amazing job with that. So Gower was originally thinking with the bird poo scene that she would drop a human poo, not a real one, but a paper mache human poo from the ceiling and just have it there. And then she thought about it, and her wife was saying how do birds actually poop human poo? And so Gower went through this whole thought process of how do we make it more realistic and funny at the same time, and that was just such a good way of doing it. It was a really funny scene, and the fruit flies that were doing their scene, they did such an amazing job, and they learnt a routine, and they took time out of their lives to come and do this for us, so it was a great thing.
So it's always amazing to have an incredible set like this. We have a 7-foot tree just sitting there. Definitely makes our job easier, being able to imagine what it's like and being able to fit into our roles of the characters that we played, and being able to feel what it was like, what it would have been like if our characters were real. I did help a little bit with the set. A lot of it was very much inspired by Gold Rush Australia and sort of more the 1800s, and a lot of it was just set to reflect
the lives back then of like a small village which were like heavily impacted by the natural causes around them.
I really love the set aspect. Like, I feel like getting to know the set is as important as getting to know your character, because you've got to move around the set as your character, and you should know like all the little nooks and crannies where you can put props and all the things you can do to improve it. Like, you should have ideas on the set being a character, because it's your home in your character.
So Darcy and I, we do a class called Music Styles and Composition, which is kind of like we get pieces to study and then we look at pieces and we create pieces off of things. So one of the things I did was the opening scene, which was kind of like the problem. So I really wanted to capture this idea of like a problem in the piece. So it would like start off really nice, but then it just slowly dwindled down to this really sad sounding piece to be like, we're in a problem. And I actually listened to this piece called Antarctica, which we studied, which kind of works because Antarctica and snow kind of go together. And then I created that piece based on one of the movements. And then at the end of the show, I created another piece that was kind of like the second part, and I called it The Solution. And it was kind of like the similar, but like a happier sounding version to be like the resolution of it's done, the solution is found.
It was amazing to work in such an environment because the people that you meet here are just incredibly talented, incredibly nice and kind people. And I guess part of it was, especially me, being new to this whole thing, you know, I could always find myself counting on them for support for anything really. So that was wonderful about this environment.
I love coming to the PAC to rehearse, and seeing everyone. I come 30 minutes early anytime that I can to see everyone. And the social aspect of theatre is something so valuable. Definitely being in the snow, it's improved my teamwork skills. My making friends is so much easier when you're involved with people who accept you as you are. You walk into this environment to rehearse, to build your character, and you know that you make a bold choice and everyone's going to stand around you, and if they don't like it, they'll correct you nicely, and they're not going to just look at you oddly, and just they're so inclusive. And bold choices are so encouraged in this community, the theatre community. It just makes me so happy to be around these people. But, yeah.
It's amazing just to be able to have the support, and not only of the teachers, but of the students as well, and of other teachers that aren't even involved in this experience.
Tanya Gower and Lisa Bektash have been so amazing throughout this entire experience. They never stop thinking. You see them in the middle of one of our theatre classes, Tanya would go, oh, I had this awesome idea, and you can just tell that she never stops, and she's just always thinking and lying awake in bed at night going, what can I do here? There was a whole situation with a roast chicken, and she had no idea how to make that happen, and with all her hard work and everything, she made all of this possible. And especially Miss Bektash, she helped students compose the music and did a lot of it herself. Even when she was in lockdown, she just, for 7 days basically, she just sat there writing music for us, and we are all so grateful.
I know that when I was in middle years, I always had doubts on whether I wanted to do acting, but I always knew, because I never wanted to do it because I had this mindset of, oh, but that's not a real thing, I shouldn't do that. And then I got to year 10, 11, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a go. And it turns out to be one of the best things I've ever done in my life. So definitely do it. Don't let your doubts hold you back. I did, and when I got here, I just let it go and had a really good time because of it.
It was really nice to have you guys all see the show. We've been working on it for 7 months, and it's become just such a big part of our lives. The amount of tears shed after the last show on Saturday night by everybody it was such an amazing thing, and everyone in the audience, we couldn't have done the show without you guys coming to watch it. So, and the support was just amazing, so thank you.
Hi, Wodonga seniors who are bringing the snow to life prospectively tonight. I think when you're being shown this is the moment when curtains rise, which is pretty exciting. My name's Finn, I'm the playwright. I'm speaking to you from rainy Adelaide, about 9 hours away. And I just wanted to say I'm so excited for you all. I'm sorry I can't be there, but distance is a thing and life is a thing, and yeah, it's just not possible to get that far. But I really hope you've had a beautiful time with the journey leading up to this moment and all the discoveries that you've made along the way. And for me, they're always the most exciting part, not what exists on the page already, but all the things that you bring out of it and all the ways that you make it your own piece. So I hope that's been a lovely journey of discovering it for yourself and kind of stamping your own mark on it. And from here on, I hope the process is a lovely one. I hope the audiences are responsive. I hope the snow falls as it has to. I hope the warriors crash as they need to. I hope the adventure plays out as it warrants, and I hope everyone has a really good time with it. So thank you very much. It really means a lot to know that while I'm over here, you're bringing it to life over there. So cheers and have a good one. Bye.
You're watching the WSSC Arts Big Night In, where we showcase the range of visual and performing arts subjects on offer at the college and the talents of our students.
Next, we'll be seeing our very own Darcy Day performing an original piece called Sunset. This will then be followed by Nieva Willis performing her final piece tonight to Liberation by Buzz with her own original choreography.
And then we will hear from some students in the VET music industry class about the technical side of music production.
We were dancing upon a fallen tree, just two kids with nowhere better to be. I remember lying through my teeth. Lonely September, all the falling leaves. It's your reckoning, only what they want. Inside my heart is a fire. It's burning like 1,000 suns. I'm running, I'm burning, I'm crashing, I'm living, I'm trying, I'm lying, I'm living for myself. Even if nobody's watching me, even if nobody hears a single note, even if nobody's watching me, oh, I'm singing it for myself. For myself.
In vet music, we learn about the recording techniques and all the prac and everything that has to do with getting the best sound possible.
We learn how to set up a performance if it's a PA, or learn how to mix and master a performance in like a studio and create tracks. And also being able to like set up for like Midnight Oil, which was an awesome experience.
To start off with, it was a lot of setting up and actually getting a good PA sound. So then the speakers were coming through well and we could actually monitor that as just the sounds changed. And then we sort of moved into the like a theory more side of it. What do we do with this? What's this? Like all the different sort of components and different uses. And then it came into a mixing side of where you'd record it, we'd do all the setup, record it, then put it through the computer and mix it down to a good track where you could play it through your headphones or stereo, something like that.
So because most of our students do music performance, we also are able to play music as well as record it, so we can record for ourselves, and once we capture the sound we then take it into Pro Tools and we try to create a really clean and smooth sound.
Yeah, we've gained like knowledge on mixing, setting up like our lines, what chords go where, how we actually monitor a sound level and where that sound and how we actually distribute that sound out evenly and make it sound well for everybody to listen to.
I've learnt how to set up a PA system for live situations, recorded and mixed down recordings of bands and instruments, learnt the copyright and everything behind protecting your recordings from the studio. We learn about frequencies and how audio and sound waves react with the environment and how different microphones can pick up different frequencies, or how effects change the way that the sound waves are processed. I'd say we do that a lot. mainly with the PA systems and making sure the instruments come through clearly in the overall mix.
You can do practical as well as the theory, and then the practical and theory will go together very nicely. They complement one another and it just works well, and it's just fun to be doing both at the same time, and also working with sound because music's just so great.
Having the skills of playing piano does help with having vet music. So doing both the musics really fit well together.
Teamwork's very important because without your team, like you can't just set up a PA by yourself in like an hour. Sometimes like the equipment just doesn't like want to comply with you, and it can be pretty frustrating. But other than that, it's just pretty smooth.
Being crewmaster, I use the leadership qualities and then use them to sort of help and maintain the workplace and other people around. And then, yeah, I could use those skills every way.
I really love music, and it also shows the behind the scenes, especially in our prac. Like we've gone and worked for Midnight Oil and seen the backstage of all of it. And it just shows you what is really in the industry of music.
Thank you for those great performances. We will be now hearing from some studio arts students on their final works that will be on display next week. And also a performance from Piper Muller performing Fantasy by Schumann.
But first, our very own Montana will be performing two pieces, Perdy Perdy by Davidson and Premiere Solo by De Merseman.
I'm doing visual communication and design, and so this is my folio work. So it's like the work that span from start of term 2 to the end of term 3, and we have to design 2 products that comes from 2 different design fields. So for me, one is communication, which is this magazine cover, and then the other one is an industrial one. So it's a satchel, a small satchel that you can wear like across your shoulder. So the client name is Next Level, and they're like a small and like upcoming like fashion brand, and they want me to like make this like a satchel design for them for their new line of products. The portfolio basically document the process from the brief to research, which is including the survey itself and observation drawings and inspiration pictures. And then we go on to do visualization drawings, so like planning like how it looks like. And then we go on to refine it. Originally, I want to do like something fashion related. Like I think it would be cool if I learned how to sew. So I start by looking at like different like pre-existing designs to get an idea of like what I want to make and how to make it. I also like start learning how to sew as well, because I didn't know how to sew before that. And then after that, I did some research as well. I did a survey with like pick like what option they want in their satchel and stuff like that, or what materials they want.
In visual communication and design, we look forward into like typography, more on graphic design and on Adobe using like computers. In visual communication and design, we worked onto a brief for a client. So I made up a client, they're called Coastal Clay Co. And I came up with 2 communication and industrial designs. So the product is my industrial and the poster is my communicational. So for the industrial, it's physical work, which is I made with polymer clay earrings, and for my communicational, I made a poster for the client. So the process with my SAT was we started with a brief and we come up with ideas, and then we worked on towards our folio, more on our ideas and like mock-up designs and sketches on how we wanted the poster to come out and how we wanted the physical work to come out. For my client in the brief, I made them a pop-up shop in the Gold Coast, like on the beaches. They're asking for a 60s theme and like a beach-styled theme. So I used a lot of colours and like choices along that area. And then I started with my earrings. So I designed them first, and then afterwards I took photos, put them onto the poster, the information, and that was it. The challenges was that this is when we very started with the assignment and the SAT. We had to think out what we wanted to do and think about what we wanted to do with the whole product and what we wanted to make, and that was where it was a bit tricky, and I had to think about what I really wanted to make as my finals and my poster. So in my own time, I've always used polymer clay and I've made earrings like as my hobby, so I really enjoy it. So I thought it would be great to use it as well as my assignment for Viscom, and made me happy how it came out. It's how I pictured, and that was, made me happy and rewarded, so.
Red hair's all over me.
We've seen some great art pieces tonight, and you'll be able to see them in person next Wednesday, 2nd of November, at our Arts and Design show.
Let's hear from two of our visual communication students who will be exhibiting their works in the show.
And then we will hear from Joshua Tait, who will be performing Prelude Book No. 1, 12 by Debussy, and a Sonata by Beethoven.
So I'm in studio art, and we basically work on a theme and concept throughout the whole year, and that leads up to our two final artworks. So I ended up choosing to revolve my work about the fast fashion industry and the often untalked about exploitation of workers in that industry, what is considered modern day slavery to many. And I just wanted to show recognition towards that through my own artwork. Throughout my folio, I explored child exploitation in particular, and I wanted both artworks to look reasonably young. The main people that it affects are young children and women. In the artwork behind me, I wanted to represent a childlike figure who looks disgusted, saddened. I wanted the audience to feel empathetic towards them and create that real emotional connection. For my second artwork, I wanted to display a woman who also has similar characteristics. I really wanted to focus on the unbreaking eye contact throughout the work. A lot of fabrics have different tension to it, so I quickly worked out that I cannot use silk because silk bunches up and will not stick to paper or paint. So I had to work my way around it, try to find more cotton based. I also really had to focus on the way that I chose the colours and the tones I used in my artwork as well. I decided to work with recycled fabric, so all of my materials were recycled from op shops, some were donated, some were just left over, and I just really wanted to focus on not contributing to that aspect at all, the negative aspects in my concept. I basically decided to do a quilt-like work of what I wanted to represent as a worker and really focus on that emotive connection with the viewer. Each work took around 17 hours to complete over the span of a couple of weeks, I believe. I would always recommend choosing something that you're really passionate about and you can see yourself doing for the next few weeks. And yeah, just something that you really enjoy doing and creating.
So within studio arts, we've started off originally, last year we had done a lot of like trialing of materials and mediums and stuff. When we got through to this year, we did a proposal to what we were planning on working on this year, what we would hope the final would eventually look like. All of my images were focused around anthropomorphic animals, so animals with human-esque qualities, whether they walk on two legs or wear clothes or that kind of stuff. On all of our documentation, we had to at least mention how we had gotten the concept of the image that we had done, the various like layout of how we had done it. So I had used a HDB 7.0 mechanical pencil for the sketch, and then like just mentioning what you had done specifically throughout the like materials and that, and then like your elements and how you feel that they had worked aesthetically, and then the evaluation, how you feel it has worked and what you believe you would do different next. So I actually had a little bit of tunnel vision when I first started out. I had really wanted to use the alcohol markers, but I had learnt pretty early on, probably trial 4 or 5, that the alcohol markers just ate my Poscas. And I didn't feel that the alcohol markers and the pencils worked well together. But I really didn't want to set down my Poscas. So the challenge of having to drop my alcohol markers after I had spent months of getting really excited playing with these like new packs that I had gotten for Christmas and that. I had attempted different ways of like laying it down before or after the Posca, but I found either way, if the Posca was laid down first, then the marker would stain the pigment of the Posca because they're like acrylic based paint markers. But if I laid it down before I put the Posca paint markers down, I would have to put like 10 coats, and if you've ever tried working with Poscas, you know that it just destroys the paper at that point. I love art to bits. It's always been a sort of way to just debrief after the weeks. I find that if I go without my studio arts or that for my week, I get incredibly anxious and stiff and that. So it's kind of just an area where I like feel a lot more calm after a session in it.
Thank you to all our talented students for their contributions to making tonight's Big Night In showcase a possibility. And thank you to everyone for watching at home and joining us tonight.
We will leave you now with a very special performance from Alizah, Patrick, Kyle and Jack.